Greetings fellow YouTubers, you are with Devastorm Ancient History and today's video will be about the beginning of the ancient Egyptian civilization. This is a long topic since the history of this ancient nation is long 3 to 4,000 years. With a lot of historical, social and political events, the Egyptian civilization has lost its independence to other political powers of the antiquity, such as Persia, the Hellenistic monarchies, and Rome. Nevertheless, the Egyptians left for us a great cultural heritage and are one of the most important political powers of the antiquity. Without further ado, let's begin. The Egyptian civilization is considered usually to be one of the most ancient in the history of mankind. It emerged in the 4th millennium BC, and in order to follow and understand how this civilization was born, we need to be aware of the geographical and natural conditions of the area. Herodotus, the father of history, states that Egypt has been a gift of the river Nile. From different sources, we know that the Egyptians understood the potential of their whole existence due to the conditions the river Nile and its valley offered. That is why they worship the river, and it's been an important entity in their religious beliefs. In geographical sense, Egypt is divided in Upper and Lower Egypt. However, unlike us, the Egyptians considered Lower Egypt to be northern part of country and the Upper Egypt the southern. The historical science possesses a lot of and different sources about the history of the ancient Egypt. They divide into 3 categories: ancient Egyptian epistolary, written texts, archaeological findings, and Greco-Roman epistolary texts. The modern knowledge of the earliest organized life in Egypt is not complete due to lack of sources. It is considered that River Nile made the common population to realize the necessity of organized way of life. The primitive irrigations were practically impossible, and this led to the uniting of the efforts of a lot of people. Their villages and the surrounding areas became communities, municipalities, and their most important functions were securing water for irrigations. A group of local municipalities combined bit by bit, and thus small territorial formations were made. The Greeks called these formations nomes. These nomes were considered by many historians the first and earliest forms of politically organized life. Since deep antiquity, Egypt has always been divided in Upper and Lower Egypt. There was no unity between the populations of the two parts. This led to the confrontation between the nomes. In the end of the pre-dynastic period until the beginning of the Archaic period, the forming of larger nomes began. The way of unifying these formations was different, but always accompanied by military conflicts. Some of these formations lasted shortly, others lasted longer. Gradually, formations which covered the whole regions of Upper or Lower Egypt were formed. Their leaders were calling themselves, for example, ruler of Upper or ruler of Lower Egypt. The Archaic period was a time of differentiating and developing of big or small nomes. In this area began the process of unifying of all the nomes across the river Nile. Herodotus mentioned that the first who united the two parts of Egypt was Menes. Manetho claims that Menes was the founder of the first dynasty, and with him begins the history of the Egyptian country. It is hard to know who really the first pharaoh has been, since the Palerm stone has been damaged and name remains unknown. The Egyptian country was firstly a primitive union of nomes and generic tribal populations. The unity of Lower and Upper Egypt was the beginning of the dualistic nature of the country. The differences between the two territories and their confrontations lasted in all the historical eras to some degree. These contradictions were due to ethnicity and religious beliefs, which led to a traditional separatism and resistance against the central government. So, fellow YouTubers, that's it for today. If you have any questions, write them in the comment section below. Next video will be about the so-called Old Kingdom or Tsardom of Egypt. As I said, my videos will be in chronological order. Don't forget to subscribe so you can watch more and be a part of something greater.